Welcome to the show, big show. How about Donovan McNab, Eagles legend, on the program? What questions do you want answered? Oh gosh, let me check. I tweeted. I forgot that I tweeted. What questions do we want answered by Mr. Donovan McNab? I feel like are these going to be funny? Or are they going to be good? We'll see. We also have CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk not showing up to mandatory minicamp. We were on top of it. We'll tell you what it means. And the fallout for other people like Tua Tagovailoa. Tua is a good person or a good thing to ask our friend Donovan McNab about. Does he have any funny stories about Andy Reid? Okay. A favorite wide receiver he played with. If he has a poster of his Madden 06 cover anywhere. If he's downloaded an Uber app yet. I'm very confused about all these things that are going on. In-N-Out Whataburger, which is his favorite. The infamous huddle puke. I feel like there's more I need to know. Welcome to the show. Matthew Hamilton making his way across the country as we make our way across the league, going and hitting all 32 at some point. We're talking OTAs, but Hammy is here. You're coming to Los Angeles next week. I'm very excited. What is the infamous huddle puke? Ugh.
Yeah, that might not be something that we want to bring up.
Do you know about that? Is that a thing?
With him? Yeah.
Oh.
It was, there are differing reports from different sides, but in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, going into that final drive, yeah.
He had some fun the night before. There were some rumors about that. We're not going to get into any of that. We love Donovan Mitchell on the show. We're excited to talk to him. How fun was it playing with McNab? That's what I meant. But Freddie Mitchell, former teammate, how was it to play with him? That's a question people are having out here. We love McNab on the program. Who is he predicting will lose to the Lions in the Super Bowl this year? You know, I was reading an ESPN article yesterday, and it was a lot of bold predictions and stuff like that. And a lot of people had the Texans going to the Super Bowl, and I said, I'm not alone. I think I might pick them. I think the world is shaping up that I'm going to pick them as my Super Bowl choice.
I'm just wondering how Bengals fans are going to feel about this. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of momentum going that way. It's just that AFC is going to be really tough this year. And as we talked about a little bit, they got the fourth toughest schedule. How are they going to respond to that? But that roster for the Texans certainly shaping up pretty well.
Joe Mixon wouldn't be mad at me.
No, he would not be.
And I'll say this, if I happen to get C.J. Stroud on the program before Joe Burrow gets on the program, I don't know how anyone could blame me.
Oh, boy.
The gauntlet dropped. Nick Casario, not kind enough to join. I'd like to see, where's Coach Lou Ben? Okay, Mr. I come to LA once in a while. Why don't you plop your butt in studio once in a while, Coach Lou, and we'll talk some Bengals. We got lots to go. You know, it's kind of nice that the Bengals stuff is a little quiet right now. Obviously there's some issues they have, mostly just concerning Joe Burrow and his health and what they can do to keep him there so they can be a juggernaut to face in the AFC. But there's some action going on. All 32 teams. It's so fun, Hamilton. They're on the field for OTAs at mandatory minicamp practices. And we have two huge absences with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk. They're not there, costing them money. It's a bit of a big deal. Mike McCarthy spoke to the media yesterday. He didn't seem that concerned.
Yeah, so CD and in all those types of situations, he's in a business situation. You know, everybody's engaged, and I have no qualms or don't lack no confidence as far as our vets being ready. He's been engaged. I can just tell you that he's been engaged. And then that's my word for the day. I said it 6 times. So engaged.
Engaged isn't married. Let's put the ring on it and walk down the aisle here. What are we doing here? CeeDee set to make $18 million this season on the 5th-year option. That's more than he made in his first 4 years combined, people. So I'd have to think he's going to play, even though the Cowboys, even if they don't come up with a new deal for him. And even though last year left not the best taste in everybody's mouth, they didn't have the biggest offseason, and everybody's talking about that. I think they'll be in the mix in the NFC once again. So what's Mike McCarthy going to say? Engaged. That's the word of the day. If Dallas does give CD the big payday, if they not just put the ring on it, but actually go through with the vows and the whole ceremony and smashing cake in each other's faces, that's where things get interesting when you look at the future, the children, the white picket fence, the nice minivan in the driveway. Let's do this. As I said yesterday, it's going to be really tough for Dallas to pay CD, Dak, and Micah Parsons. They're probably going to have to choose 2 of the 3. So if CD gets his deal, that means you probably can't afford the Ferrari or the night. You gotta get the station wagon, okay? You can't afford everything and have everything be flashy and nice. So what does it mean for Dak? Is that the end of the Dak era in Dallas? Where could he be headed next year? It's hard to imagine any of those guys in another uniform, but we're at that point. And while there has been talk of Dak getting an extension too, I don't feel the same momentum there. And the more I think about it, the more I think it might be the best thing for both sides to let Dak play this thing out. Because if you're on Dak's side, he's going to get broken off if he hits the open market. He wants money. Quarterbacks with his track record don't hit free agency, and he'd be in line for a monster deal. For the Cowboys, you get an extra motivated Dak. You're going to get every little ounce of the best out of him. And if it doesn't happen this year, let's be honest, it's probably not going to for this version of the Dallas Cowboys. So maybe a fresh start. That's what both sides need. The Cowboys pay their superstars, try to start over with a young quarterback. Dak gets a clean slate, a bag in another environment. He's not going to ever not be popular, never not going to get the marketing deals as he once wore the star on his helmet. He'll be in a booth whenever he wants, whenever his career ends up ending. So Hamilton, I got to say, this is going to be one of the more significant seasons of Cowboys history when we look back and as we look ahead to it, and it'll be interesting. And how excited do you think Richard Issaquah is that we started the show with the Cowboys? Let's go. Ratings tick up, baby.
And it is interesting when you think about it too, because, you know, this dilemma that they're facing, having to pay three guys, it's kind of marked this period for Jerry Jones, these 30 years since they did win that Super Bowl. And it all kind of coincides with, you know, those 90s teams. There was no salary cap. They could keep everybody. They could add all this talent. And they had a team chock full of superstars, and they just haven't been able to figure it out since, you know, how to make those choices. Who's the right guy to pay? Who do you let walk? Who do you build around to keep the team in contention? And that's where I think that's the biggest thing when you look at these 30 years, why they haven't gotten it done. And this is a chance for them to get it right now and make those right decisions.
What'd you make of Stroud? You saw Stroud's clip the other day of saying that Dak is like that guy, that he sees. This young electric player looks at Dak, you know, you can say interstate rivalry, whatever. He says he's so consistent. He's that. Do you agree?
I mean, as far as the regular season, yeah, the consistency's there. They've gotten it done, but it's hard. You look at that Packers game and in the playoffs, and it left him. I don't know if it was the moment, if it was the nerves, if it was just, you know, a credit to the Packers, but they just got buried right out of the gates in that game. And he didn't look like the Dak that we've seen all year. So I think that's what it really is going to come down to, and how we judge his career is in those big moments, in those playoff games, how he's going to show up. And, you know, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but we still need to see it. Every
game will be a playoff game this year for him. So we'll see if it's good for him to get the extra motivation, let me squeeze this for my next deal, or if it's not going to work well for him and that, you know, he shrinks in those moments. We'll see. We'll see what happens with CD, Brandon Ayuk, and the like. Now, you know, I get when I meet somebody, I fall in love with them, you know? So then I'd go to Carolina, and I don't have like the craziest expectations, but I'm always excited to meet a head coach. So I sit and I meet Dave Canales, and we're chopping it up, I can't break the eye contact with him. Like Kuechly, I can't look at because he's like, you know, he's a superhero, and I'm like, I can't look at him. It's like, but when Dave Canales like had me, you know, and I was like, I get it. I remember I was like, I get it. And then you see and you look at what he did with Baker Mayfield, and every time I'm trying to like circle the wagons for the Bucs, and I do really more than anybody else, the question that I have is, what does this look like without Dave Canales? But maybe I'm putting too much on that, because we finally heard Baker talk yesterday. You sent it to me, Hammer. You pointed it out. And he sort of went through the differences between this new Liam Cohen system and the one he had and he thrived in with Canales.
There's a lot more responsibility. Line of scrimmage, a lot more double play calls where you're having to get the guys in the right position. But as a quarterback, you want to have that responsibility, the accountability of, you know, you always want to put your guys in the best position to have success. And so now Liam's giving us the opportunity with a couple play calls to be able to do that. And so, like I said, more mentally taxing, but just relearning the system and not taking it with the mindset of I've been in it before, but really starting from square one.
Love hearing from him. I feel like we haven't heard from him in a long time. He's paid. It sounds like he's got a lot of confidence right now. And giving Baker freedom and responsibility at the line should only make this offense more dangerous. And I'm not trying to take anything away from what Canales said about Baker or what the two of them did together, but there's room for this thing to grow. The Bucs ranked 20th in scoring last year, bottom 10 in total offense. As you can see, they're dead last in rushing. So I think, the new OC, he can help fix that last part, especially. He's a McVay dude. He comes from the McVay tree. The offense is sort of built off the run game. Rashad White, friend of the show, showed he has that talent. He racked up 1,500 total yards, 9 touchdowns last year. Nobody freaking talks about it. So I think scheme, new pieces, the O-line is going to help build some consistency on the ground, which, of course, is going to help the quarterback. So a lot of worries, of course, about what they're going to look like without Canales. I certainly have some, but I don't know. I still say they have a chance to be better this year. And everyone's hot on Atlanta. I'm going to stick with the Bucs until they get thrown out of there. I don't know if the hype's going to translate as much onto the field with Kirk Cousins and company. Okay, you know who wants to talk quarterbacks? Why am I talking about him? Donovan McNab, an absolute legend, is just here, and he's excited, I'm sure, to talk about. We'll talk a little Eagles. I got to ask him about a little Tua. We'll be back with Donovan McNab after this on the program. Eagles legend joining the show. Oh, okay, I figured. Oh, to start this? Oh, right now? Yeah. Hamilton, why don't you tee it up? Go for it.
Yes, okay. I know we talked a lot.
It's the salt, not the, I'm not going to call it saltiness. What do we want to call it? Like bravado, or is it like that dog in him thing from last year?
Yeah, it's that dog that he has in him. And it's funny because we talked about it a lot last year, right? Like he was giving more of the stock quarterback answers in the press conferences. We didn't see as much of the spiciness from him last year, but it's still there in him. This caught my eye. Let's take a look at Baker.
That's right where they had us last year. Like I said, nobody's played it down yet. We're all working for the same goal, but mentality-wise, this team, we're hungry. We're back at it. At this point, it's pretty much expected for people to, underestimate the Bucs, but we just put our heads down and work.
I love him.
Just a little, yeah.
I just like Eddie. I think you know this. I hope that for all of the Darnolds, the Geno, you love a rewrite.
Yeah.
It's what makes you think. It's what makes you think that a Zach Wilson, what could happen there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Baker definitely rewrote his story. And I think his new approach, we're seeing, him being more thoughtful in these press conferences. But I think that's something too. If I'm hearing that in the locker room, it's not overly, he didn't overdo it. But if I'm hearing that in the locker room, or I'm a Bucs fan, or even just us covering the eye, that gets me fired up for this team. It really does. They're paying attention and they're motivated and they're hungry. They're not just saying, "Oh, we won the division last year. We've got it made." They're motivated to show everybody that they're wrong.
I still think I'm just thinking, I can't believe the Bucs won the Super Bowl years ago. If you really think about it, that was an absolute blur. I'm doing shows in a closet in New York City during pandemic, and they went on to win. I remember interviewing from my Tribeca apartment Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes at media night.
That's right.
And I was like, this is the weirdest situation here. Just the turnaround. But even that, I know the popularity, but they're still slept on, even though they're a recent Super Bowl winner. I mean, because the Rams just go away. Look at the Rams won and did it, and they just go away.
And people try to say it was all Brady, but what they did last year shows you it's not. They have a good team across the board, and Baker's bringing that out again.
We got Donovan McNab on the show. Let's go.
Let's go.
It's a whole lot of energy, I got enough to let it go. It's a whole lot of energy off in the squad. We let them know. It's a whole lot of energy, It's a whole lot of energy, Now back it down, so take a seat and wait for the show.
I just miss him on the field. Get in here, Donovan McNab, 6-time Pro Bowler, Eagles Hall of Famer, all-time leader in passing yards and touchdowns. How are you? How have you been?
I'm doing outstanding. How are you? Great intro, too. I like that. It's been a while, but, to see it, I guess, can remind my kids that I did play football back in the day.
Your kids know you played football back in the day. In fact, your kids are killing it playing sports on their own.
Yeah, they are. This is ultimate sports dad, I guess. Going from one game to the next, coaching girls softball club, having my oldest, obviously, as you see in the picture, at Syracuse, my alma mater. And it's just an exciting time for, the McNab household because it's just putting on miles on your car and just continue to add up more and more gas and just having fun cheering for them.
So Lexi's playing hoops at Syracuse. Soraya just won a state championship at Xavier
in softball
Pratt.
And basketball.
Let's go. How involved are you, and how good of a Father's Day gift are you going to get?
I'm very involved. You're taking kids to training, continue to try to instill in them about work ethic and passion. And I'm coaching club softball as well. So I'm a 16U head coach for girls softball travel team. So we actually have to go this weekend to California to play in another big tournament. My son is playing football and basketball and varsity. And then my youngest son is playing club hockey. So we're very, very busy, but it's very exciting for me. And this is what retirement life is about, stepping away from the game and being very supportive of your kids.
No, Donovan, retirement life is a drink with an umbrella in it on the beach somewhere. It sounds like you are busy.
Well, when it comes to club sports, that's usually what parents do after games are over. We kind of get together and just reflect on things and have a few cocktails. But it's just exciting. I mean, when you have 4 kids that are all involved in sports and they're kind of creating their own niche, it's very exciting for us.
You should be very proud. I love that for you. I got to ask you, who's your coaching inspiration? Who are you pulling from?
You know what? You pull from a lot of the people that were created in your path, and starting all the way down from my 7th and 8th grade football coach, Roger Torella, who's no longer with us. He passed away, but he was just kind of a hard-nosed guy that wanted nothing but the best. And if you didn't give 100% effort, it'd make you do it over. All the way through high school with Frank Linty in football. He was kind of the same guy, but he was very detailed. Going to college with Paul Pasqualoni and Kevin Rogers being my quarterback coach, to Andy Reid. Just kind of asserting itself early on in my career, and then allowing the veterans and the core to kind of lead the charge and just continue to keep us on that path. And that's what you're seeing right now in Kansas City. What are you taking from Andy? What's one specific thing that you're taking from Andy? It's more of just continuing to stay confident, but being prepared. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't really realize when it comes to the success that he's having in Kansas City is those guys are well prepared for every situation that they're faced with. And I think for a lot of us as analysts, we look at the big picture. We wait and see for the result instead of understanding the process. And for them, obviously losing Tariq and Tariq going to Miami, everyone thought that they would pretty much fall. And with no name subtle receivers, they still kept the train moving, and he and Travis can continue to elevate that offense, and Pachenko running the football. And so I just think with Andy, it's more or less having that confidence that those guys are going to do their job because they prepared so well through the week that he allows them to just be themselves on game day. It's very thoughtful, and it's why why your kids are successful. You're imparting that sort of wisdom on them. But it's not just your kids that are creating a legacy. I mean, this coach vibe is a thing. Your nephew is Edmonton Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse. He's headed to the Stanley Cup Final, Donovan. It starts on Saturday. And don't be humble on me, Donovan. You've been a big player here. You've been a resource for him, helping him develop all the way through. You started training with him when he was 12 years old, I believe. Yeah. What is this like for you? Well, it's an exciting time because, obviously he'll call and kind of bounce some things off of me, just kind of wanted some answers. And I'll check in on him. And like I called him last series when it was 2-2 and 3-2. And I told him, hey, listen, man, finish the deal, get them up out of the way so we can focus in on the next step. And he called me back and he's like, hey, we're moving on. Let's go. I'm like, let's finish it. Like, let's go ahead and finish this thing and hold that trophy up at the end. But I'm excited for him because of the work that he put in. You talk about once he came out here to Arizona to train with me at 12, 13 years old, and just continue to work extremely hard every time he comes out here to Arizona. He's putting in a lot of work in Canada during the off season, and for he and Draisaitl, as well as obviously McDavid, to be in this position, it just kind of attributed just their hard work and their leadership to lead their team to possibly winning their Stanley Cup.
10 years in, first Cup appearance. Unbelievable. Sending him all the love, wishing him all the best. They're really, really incredible. You had some great moments in your career. Let's get to Donovan McNab now. I want to tell you, I don't think you get enough credit. I just want to show you a little something since we're reliving the days here. This 4-touchdown performance you had on a broken freaking ankle in 2002. Andy Reid tries to convince Mahomes to come out of the 2023 playoff game against the Jags. What did you have to say to him to let you keep playing in this regular season game?
Well, I think with Andy, he knew how high my pain tolerance was and that it wasn't going to affect me. And one thing you're not going to do is pull me out. If I can walk, I can play. And so it was just the way that I was raised because, you just don't want to leave your team out there by themselves. And we've worked extremely hard to get to that point. And I think for me, it was just more or less just fighting through the pain. And I actually didn't think that I broke it. I thought it was just kind of a high ankle sprain. And so I was on the sideline stretching it. I had pretty much the Dan Marino spat job on my ankle. So I couldn't move much, but yet still I could move enough. And so, to win that game and then go in the locker room and hear the bad news that, that I broke my ankle, it wasn't a good feeling, but yet still, sat me out for about 8 weeks. And I came back for the playoff game, I think, against Atlanta.
6 weeks you were out. You come back, you win in the playoffs, take this team to the NFC Championship. Incredible. Why do you think your toughness wasn't talked about as much as it should?
I don't know. Everyone picks and chooses what they want to talk about certain players. Toughness was one that I don't think anyone ever questioned. I think for me, it was whatever it is they felt at that particular time to talk about me. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I love the game. I run through a brick wall for the game.
Yeah.
That was just my passion. And so I just think for these young kids to learn a lot from the older or the past generation of players, it could take them a long way. But that's just kind of always been my mentality is that, I was going to do whatever it takes to win the game.
I mean, these young kids have these rules protecting them. You didn't.
No.
You didn't have any of that. You were extending plays and taking lots of hits.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because it's like when Tom got hurt, I forget what year it was when the Tom Brady rule was in effect. It didn't affect me. Like, if I moved in the pocket and got hit upside the head, the ref looked at me and said, "I thought you were scrambling." I'm like, I'm behind the guard. Like, there's no way I'm scrambling. I just got hit in the face by Chris Jenkins and his cast that he had on his arm. But, it's how they feel. I mean, everyone's ref different. And that's the wild part because if you're so-called a mobile quarterback, they don't know when and should they throw the flag. But if you're sitting in the pocket and you get hit any type of way or you get thrown down, which is weird to me when I see the flag comes out when the defensive tackle all of a sudden tackles the quarterback and puts his body weight on him. A 320-pound guy falling on a 215 to 20-pound quarterback, and that's a penalty. So I missed this era. I guess I was born too early. But yet still, you got to protect all the players.
Got to protect all your players. I'm gonna take a little turn. We're talking about you're a dad of daughters. You were talking about roughness, playing, what that looks like. I got to get your opinion on what's going on in the WNBA here. The NBA Final starts tomorrow, and everybody's talking about WNBA, Caitlin Clark, all of that. Your daughters, I'm sure, have dreams or talk about this in your household. What are the conversations like?
Well, this is the funny thing because I have a niece that plays in the WNBA as well. Darnell's sister plays with the LA Sparks. So I've had Kia here training with me as well, and then her older sister played in college basketball as well. My wife played college basketball. So I've been watching the WNBA since, Rebecca Lobo, Lisa Leslie, Teresa Witherspoon, Becky Hammond, when Becky Hammond was playing in the WNBA. So I've watched from the past to this particular point. And so, when I watch the way that today's game is played, yes, it's physical. I mean, I coach coach softball now, but I coach club basketball back when my daughter was playing. And it's physical. It's a physical game, And so I think one thing that some people are taking this and running with it because of the play that happened to Caitlin Clark. Now, I will say this from a guy that's been watching the game. Yeah, when you're a rookie, they're going to single you out, and they have singled her out. So let's not overlook that not happening. And I think a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's just the way the game is played. No, they've been double teaming her coming off of ball screens. They've been banging her around, but that's what you do with a rookie. You go after a rookie and you try to kind of make them break, like you break them a little bit. So I think with Caitlin Clark, she's just going through what most rookies went through. And I will tell you this, the game has changed because of Caitlin Clark and a lot of these young girls that have come out in this draft, as well as in the past 2 or 3 years. And it's only for the better of this game. Because, yes, we are talking about the WNBA right now, and it's a positive thing, and arenas are getting filled up because of the excitement of what Caitlin Clark has brought from college, and Angel Reese, and Cardoza, and Brinks, and a lot of these different girls, even going back to Alea Boston being a first pick last year. It's an exciting time for women's basketball because it gives the young girls an opportunity to dream of being on the professional floor, just like the NBA with the guys. So I just think, you hear so many people say, well, you got to be particular with your words. No one's particular with their words when it comes to the NBA. So, I just think if we're going to go along with it as such and we really analyze what's going on, then let's just be honest with it. And so I like where they are right now with the WNBA. I'm excited about it. It's great storylines. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing kind of transpires throughout the regular season and going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I asked myself the question. We had like our post show. We're a football show. We're an NFL, and we spent 45 minutes talking about all of the different storylines. And I think where one of the places I landed was just like, is this good for the WNBA? And it is. Like it's the NBA Finals, and this is what we're, run it back. Chandler Parsons, you got Sean. They're all talking about it on our network, on every network. You've got First Take and all of these people. I did want to ask you, because I think you're a good person to ask to add some light on this, or just your perspective. Stephen A., Mike Wilbon, not just them, a lot of people are chiming in, but even just Michael Wilbon, he had this statement on PTI yesterday, and he said, the discussion about Caitlin Clark has to deal with, and I mean initially and loudly, race and culture in America. Now, as someone who's dealt with a lot of noise throughout your career surrounding the subject, how do you view that from the Wilbon context?
Well, I know Michael Wilbon very well, being a Chicago guy and he living out here in Arizona. But he's absolutely right. Now, this is the thing that I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they get pulled back a little bit because it's like a touchy. I can't really get into it, and I wouldn't say that. Well, Caitlin Clark has done a lot of great things in college, and I watched her throughout her career. I watched her, obviously, the last 2 years of being able to take her team to back-to-back national championships. Unfortunately, wasn't able to win it, but the things that she was able to do and the attention she brought to college basketball, and then obviously going into the WNBA has been big. But if this was an African-American girl that came in, all-time lead scorer, first pick of the draft, going to a team that really wasn't very successful, it wouldn't be so much of a topic. And I think also, too, what's attributing to it is some of the comments from some of the other players that are in the league. And so, and it's a lot of the African-American players that are making the comments about, hey, it's not all about one person. It's about all of us. And, people are talking about shoe deals. People are talking about contracts. It's just different things like that kind of add to it. But I think it does have a little bit to do with the attention that's going on right now, heavily, with a little bit of race.
It's well said and really thoughtful. I hope you're dropping another podcast soon, the top 5 spot with Donovan McNab, because these are really thoughtful answers. And I think you're speaking from obviously your experience, but also being a dad of daughters that are in pursuit of a career in the WNBA, which is the biggest thing right now. I can't believe I have you on my show for the first time, and we're it's an incredible thing that is only getting bigger and better. Can we talk a little NFL though?
Absolutely. Hey, I'm well-rounded. I've done it all.
I know that. I got to ask you about Tua. He talked about the current state of his contract deal with the Dolphins. He was asked about how he views the contract that Jared Goff got when it comes to his own. Listen to what he said.
I'm not blind to people that, are in my position that are getting paid. I'll tell you one thing. The market is the market. If we didn't have a market, then none of that would matter. It'd just be an organizational thing, Didn't matter if that guy got paid that. because it's up to the organization. So that's what I would say. The market is the market. That's it.
I mean, he's not wrong. Market's the market. Take
He's
a
not
look.
wrong.
Yeah, here's the highest paid
Absolutely.
quarterbacks. So take a look at these. When you look at this full screen and you hear what he has to say, if you're Chris Greer, the Dolphins GM, what would you pay him?
I mean, first of all, let me go if I'm Tua, and I've been in Tua's situation. I'm getting paid what the market values me to be getting paid. And the same with Dak Prescott. And the whole thing about it, which is funny, is we want to pick and choose who gets paid. But then when some of these guys in that list that you just showed, how many of those kids don't have a playoff win?
Let's see.
How many of those quarterbacks have never been to the playoffs? And so you look at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, we've been talking about Justin Herbert as if he was the up-and-coming Tom Brady. Justin Herbert doesn't have a playoff win. You know, Kyler Murray doesn't have a playoff win. Lamar and Jalen have done great things. We were talking Jared Goff when he came out of with the Rams organization, and we thought he was just all for naught. Well, they thought the Detroit was going to draft Tua in that draft, but they decided not to, and Jared Goff has now elevated his game. And then I've been saying Joe Burrow's the second best quarterback in the league, but Joe Burrow can't stay healthy. And so if you can't make the club, you can't make the club in the tub. You know, so now what happens if this continues to happen in the next 2 to 3 years if Joe Burrow is hurt? So I just think for the way the market is valued the quarterbacks, and it's all really the league that's boosted all of this to happen, because you forgot to even add Daniel Jones in that list, who's making over $40 million. And when he got paid, nobody really said much. And then it was like, wait a minute, what has he done? And so I just think for quarterbacks, when you come up in his time and what we've seen a healthy Tua do with this organization, I think he deserves at least $50 million.
So more than Jared Goff?
Well, it's the timing of it all. It's the timing of it all. So I will say yes, only because, one, he's younger. Two, he's on a football team that's balanced all around. So you would think the success is on the rise. And so what happens, okay, let's just say, what happens if Jared Goff finishes second in the North, loses in the second round, and Tua goes to the AFC Championship? Will we be saying the same thing if he doesn't get a contract this year? And now all of a sudden you waited till he made it to the AFC Championship. You know what that price tag is going to be? It's going to be a whole lot more than what he's probably trying to get now. So I just think they better think about that at this particular point, because you just paid Waddle. Tariq Hill's looking for a new deal, and then you don't have your quarterback taken care of. Yeah, that sounds like nonsense to me.
I will say Daniel Jones did win a playoff game, but I guess it was just like a 1 year.
Yes, but was that really because of the back of Saquon Barkley, or was that because Daniel Jones played outstanding?
It's a great point. I think the better point is so you're agreeing with Tua. The market's the market. It's timing.
Yes.
Get paid now.
Yes.
So if you're Chris Greer, you're saying let's pay him now. The number you're saying, and not let him wait it out and play the year.
Well, I'm sure they're going to put some stipulations in that contract, obviously, with this injury history that we have with the concussion. But do you do a long-term deal, and do you do a 4-year deal with possibly voids in that 4th year? It depends on the length of the contract, of how you go about it, I think. And then, you have to look at it with the concussion history. If this were to happen again, do you protect yourself as an organization? But I believe this needs to be handled going into training camp.
I'm just dying that you didn't have any reason to take a shot at the Giants. You had to take a shot at the Giants.
Well, I didn't mean it in that way to take a shot at the Giants, but I'm just saying when it comes to quarterbacks, everyone's going to bring that part up because of Daniel Jones being in that higher echelon with the money situation. Because, the same goes for right now. We're talking Tua. What do you think is going to happen in San Francisco if they start out going 6-0 or give or take 7-2? Their quarterback's going to ask for a contract too, and Brock Purdy. And so, does he deserve that contract? That's the question that you're going to have to ask yourself.
Well, I need you on my show every day. You're just, I'm like smiling ear to ear. This is such good stuff. Eagles, I cannot let you go without talking about the Eagles. That would be like I don't even know, I'd get like taken, my sports media card would get taken away. So yesterday there's this clip, I don't know if you saw it. It's Coach Sirianni talking about his interactions with Giants fans. And here's what he had to say. Take a look at this.
You know, sometimes you see Giants fans around here with the, being so close. And, they give me a good, like, hey, go Giants. And I'd typically let it go. But if the guy gets me good enough, I usually say, got your best player.
What do you make of that? How real is this rivalry? What do you make of that? And I like hearing that from Coach.
Was he lying? We did get Saquon Barkley. So I just think, because that's kind of when you're live by the turnpike and you're in Philly, or most players live in Jersey. So it's split a little bit of Giants fans to Eagle fans. And yeah, we've all got that conversation, or we had comments that were made by some fans. But it's exciting. As far as him saying that, it is hilarious, but he's kind of right. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how things continue to propel with this rivalry. And then also you look at just kind of how the division looks at this particular point. With new coaching staff, new ownership, new management, everything in Washington, to the Giants kind of trying to turn things around, not drafting a quarterback high, and having a full confidence in Daniel Jones. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things happen. Because look, you look at where Philadelphia is at right now. Kellen Moore is the new offensive coordinator. They got a new coordinator on defense in Fangio. So I just think really where the Eagles are, they're in a great place. But is this going to be a slow start? Or is this going to come out from what we've seen with Kellen Moore of how he called plays in Dallas to what he did with the Chargers? Can Jalen Hurts pick up on this offense and spread the ball around? Because one thing that Kellen Moore is not known for is running the football. And so when you have Saquon Barkley, you're going to have to run the football because you're just leaving a situation with the Chargers. They had a 1,000-yard running back in Swift. Mm-hmm. So now you bring Saquon in there. Yeah. And if you think you're going to throw the ball 35, 45 times a game and give Saquon 12 carries, that's not going to work.
You had what? How many OCs did you have? 5 in 13 years? You're the best person to hear this from. Kellen, and you can speak to the importance of what Kellen has got to show up.
Kellen has to show up where this offense is built around his talent, not you just bringing your playbook and say, hey, this is what we're going to run. You're going to bring this playbook, but you're also going to diagnose it and change it to cater to the talent that you have. You got 2 talented wide receivers on the outside. You got one of the top tight ends in the league in Dallas Goedert. You have one of the best young quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts. But you also got a power running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield in Saquon Barkley. So you got to figure out a way to be more balanced and utilize your tight ends to kind of create opportunities on the outside with A.J. Brown and also with Devontae.
I am saying Kellen had a top 10 run offense 3 times in 5 years as an OC. Maybe he brings it. Maybe he listens to what you're saying. Unleash Saquon, do the thing that Nick Sirianni is saying y'all took. That's amazing. I can't let you go without asking about Kyle Shanahan. You brought up Washington, new leadership, all of that. He was your OC, one of the 5 in 13 years that you had, which is just insane. He's 2-2 in the NFC Championship. He's 0-4 in Super Bowls. You and Andy Reid had a tough time breaking through in Philly. He figured it out in KC. What is sort of the hiccup that you see in Kyle that he needs to finally break through?
Well, he's got to make the adjustment. He has to change. And one thing, talking to Andy and just we have that relationship where we just kind of bounce a lot of stuff off. He learned from our reign in Philadelphia of how to kind of go about it. And he was able to get over the hump and put himself in those positions. And I think for Kyle, he's got to find a way to change. And, it's certain plays and games that, they call and it's like, oh, why'd you call that? Or you find yourself in a position where you can secure the win and you just don't. So I just think for Kyle at this particular point, regular season, he does a dynamic job. Playoffs, excellent, but you just got to find a way to change to get over that hump.
Change what, Donovan? Change what?
Well, I mean, there's something that's probably so minute that we probably don't focus in on. It could be calling a timeout in the right situation. It could be running the football. Well, remember when he was in Atlanta, it was run the football. Run the football against New England and neutralize the clock and get the first downs and keep the chains moving. He decided to throw the ball, get sacked, fumble. Obviously goes the other way. Momentum shifts. Winning, San Francisco, winning. People blame Garoppolo and the post throw that he missed. But there were plays in that game where you were up by double digits and you just didn't secure the win. And the same goes for this particular game this year. You're up by double digits. You just don't secure the win. So if it's run the football, keep the ball on the ground, run a screen, keep the chains moving, keep the opposing offense off the field, then that's what you have to do.
Is it, I don't want to put words, is it stubbornness, like unwillingness to adjust in the moment, game management? Is it nerves? Like, how would you sort of use, what adjective would you, I guess, use? Like, what is the...
I would say more game management.
Game management.
I don't think that it's nerve. I don't think that it's caution. I think it's more of just game managing.
So interesting.
Just managing the game in those tight situations. If it's beginning of third quarter, if it's the middle of the fourth, whatever it may be, it's just that game managing where it comes to just those one or two particular plays that could change the game. And you never know, it could create an explosive play down the road in that drive. You just never know. And it's just, that's when you see like the teams like New England and the success that they had with Tom, to San Francisco and their runs, Dallas in those runs, whatever it may be. It's just kind of changing something so small that can get you over the hump.
Mahomes is so special, but Andy changed, when I watch this as a fan, he adjusted everything to tailor and cater to his quarterback. So it's like Kyle's got to find that, whatever that thing. It's hard because the quarterback's different, but there's something, that's at least what I see when I look at Andy. I can't figure out the Kyle thing. And then
But think of this, you just brought up something that's really big that not a lot of people talk about. Now, when Andy drafted Patrick Mahomes, Patrick was more of a gunslinger, where it was like, I compared him to Brett, but he wants to compare him to me. I wasn't a gunslinger. And so what he did was he brought that down to the point where he trusted more of his checkdowns, and obviously he and Travis have a great chemistry. When you look at some of what Kyle Shanahan has been able to do in his offense, it's guys that he can coach and control. When you're a quarterback that kind of can get off schedule and create some plays and things of that nature, that's not something he's really known for. Remember, RG3, myself, everybody else has kind of been like Rex Grossman to now Brock Purdy to Sam Darnold. But Trey Lance, he wasn't able to create what Trey Lance was very known for to bring him into his offensive style. And what did he do? He got rid of him. And so it's more or less allowing your quarterback to open his game up a little bit more instead of, kind of puppetizing him and sitting there and be like, no, that ball's got to go here. No, you got to, it's like, I missed him. Let me pick up 5 yards. Let's go to the next play.
Donovan, you're incredible. Listening to you is incredible. Does Brock Purdy have that? I've seen him scramble.
I believe so. I watched Brock when he was in high school here in Arizona.
Oh.
I think he has that. And you've seen him get out the pocket and pick up yards in the NFC Championship and also in the Super Bowl. He has that ability. But he also will sit in that pocket and hold it because he's waiting on something to happen instead of just being an athlete. Hey, that clock is going. You got to get out that pocket and get what you can and go to the next play.
I think do something with your legs, Brock. I'd like to see more of that. You are a coach. You are a coach. And I want you to quickly, you mentioned Arizona and Brock Purdy. In Arizona, you have 5 sports performance. You are helping develop our future next great quarterbacks. Tell me how.
Well, it's just being able to embark your wisdom, everything that you've learned throughout your career, and getting back to the fundamentals. Too many times you look on the internet and you see it, these quarterback coaches video and kids doing 360 throws for 40 yards or they're swinging this back leg and dragging, and all fundamentally they're just off because this is what you see Patrick Mahomes, this is what you see Aaron Rodgers doing. So we're going to teach that. No, that's not how the game is played. when you got pressure in your face with a 295-pound guy who can run a 4.6, that ball's got to go. And so you have to be able to get it out with timing. Your footwork has to be tight enough where you're able to create that big play. And if nothing is there, utilize your legs. And I think a lot of time our young kids are not able to read the defense and be able to construct where they're going to go with the football because coaches are telling them where to go. Coaches are drawing up play. Hey, you got to throw it here. You got to put it here, instead of allowing them to read the defense and be able to see where they're going to go by utilizing their feet. And so I just think for me, it's been an opportunity where I love working with these young guys. I've got some of the guys coming out of college working with me or going playing in the arena or possibly Canadian football. So it's a lot of fun for me, just to give a little bit of time to those guys and watch them flourish.
All right, Coach. You're officially coach in my 6-time Pro Bowler.
I won't wear the bike shorts, though. You'll never see me in the coaching shorts.
I don't want to see you in a visor either. Please don't wear it.
What? You see this head? This head needs a little bit,
No visor. Visors are not cool. Donovan McNab, I can't tell you how much I appreciated this conversation. Thank you. Congrats to your family. We are now at the Up and Adam show rooting for Soraya and the Lady Cubs on the travel softball this summer as you are coaching. And, of course, to your nephew who's just going to crush it in his first cup. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Enjoy
and congratulations on your show and everything you've been able to do. You do a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thoughtful conversation, as always. Donovan McNab, appreciate it so much. We'll be back in a moment. Awesome. All right. Hamilton, I could have talked to him all day. That was great.
That was great. Super thoughtful. Some really good insight there.
Didn't go so hot.
That's not wrong. You got to find that balance, And maybe that, the Brock that we saw in the NFC Championship game against the Lions, you saw some of that off-schedule stuff, so.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Billy Price, guys. This is exciting. Let's do this. All right, here's my next guest. 2018 former first-round draft pick. He played 6 seasons at center in the NFL for the Bengals, the Giants, and the Cardinals. Billy Price, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Congrats on your recent retirement, of course. You have a lot to talk about, a great, inspiring story. I think we all are sort of aware of what happened. You had an issue, a blood clot. It was a saddling blood clot right between I read all about it these past couple of days, in your lungs, a true emergent surgery situation. How are you feeling? Let's start there.
Feeling actually pretty well. So I finally started working out again, doing basic things, and feeling as if nothing actually happened, which is kind of the scary part about it. So it was a freak accident. Was actually out in the yard messing with my son. I've got a 1.5-year-old son. Sorry, excuse me. 1.5-year-old son, and went to go bend down to go pick up something from the yard. Ended up getting pretty lightheaded and couldn't slow the heart rate. Again, emergency surgery, supposed to be 30 to 45 minutes. Ended up being 2 hours long on the table, and just thankful to be alive, truly.
And I'm sure you had all the support from your beautiful wife, your son that you're talking about, Hudson. We're glad you're feeling okay. We're glad you're healing up. And it sort of must put things into perspective. I'm so curious, with the decision to retire, you had a very, before this, thoughtful approach, as I understand it, thinking about what your future would be, pursuing something outside of football. Tell me about that.
So you're still processing part of it and understanding that, again, because part of my identity over the last 6 going on 7 years here was preparing for training camp, and you're getting ready to get going here, and that's something that's not going to be there. So in the past couple of years, I've started my MBA with Kelley Business School here at Indiana University, and so kind of meticulously been thinking about just the next steps of outside of football, and that's a situation where taking some courses during the season, taking courses, throughout the year, cranking things up outside of football. So anywhere from January on, taking multiple classes. So preparing for that, but, it is still very, very difficult. Again, you go through days where you're like, okay, the next chapter is going to be exciting. Again, I get to watch my kid grow. continue to develop my family, as you know, my wife and I are hopeful for baby number 2 here. But it is still a situation that, again, your identity is now it's almost lost. And so it's tough, but it is a situation though. You have a great support system around you and you're able to kind of cultivate a better environment as you go into the next chapter.
I really think part of what you're going to do now is stand as this beacon of how unpredictable life can be. And maybe marrying yourself to this identity. I mean, look at you, Remington Trophy winner, All-American first-round pick. To marry yourself entirely to something that can be gone like that, like I think you are a perfect person to hold the candle for. Be prepared for everything. Pursue the degree. You had an internship with Nike, right? Like that was something that was important to you. To have some, obviously you're not thinking about like, oh, where am I going to apply? You're not going to go on, a career builder right now and do that. Like you're settling, you're relaxing, you have a lot ahead of you. You can do anything. I hope you pursue media. You can talk about Joe Burrow, your time with the Giants, all of that. You have so much that you can give. But I do think there's something about you that really speaks to the preparedness that I wish players had and the perspective of knowing that it could be gone in a moment and to prepare for the unpredictable. Yeah,
the preparedness aspect of it is something that I know players do not pay attention to. Again, you've got guys in the locker room. Again, when you step foot into a training camp at the end of July, and the next thing you know, you blink and it's Super Bowl time. The time flies so fast during the season, and that's something. It's tough. And again, at the blink of a moment, things could be gone. Again, I spread 9 yards of mulch a couple months ago. I was just at Ohio State spring game, walking miles around the campus, carrying my son at the time. We took him up there to go see the All-American tree, which was something special for me that Ohio State does in their traditions. And then next thing you know, 2 weeks later, boom, I'm in the hospital table. Things happen that fast. So it's one of those things. I know the decision, again, potentially playing with blood clots and being on blood thinners. If I get hit from the side on any type of TE stunt or any type of, defensive line pick games, there's an internal bleed and the risk for that I might not make it off the field at that time. And so it's a tough decision to make. But again, being able to see my family continue to grow and be a father and a businessman in my next chapter, it's exciting, but again, life is so precious. What's the hardest part? If I were to ask you, I know it's sensitive right now, but as far as football walking away, I imagine you're going to say the locker room, but what specifically is the hardest part of that decision? Yeah, the locker room for sure. Again, playing with the Dallas Cowboys last year, although I was on practice squad, you're still a member of the team. And in each dynamic, you talk about Thursday dinners with the O-line and just the conversations, just getting to know people a little bit better on a personal level, not football level. It's different. People are completely different. Their interests, their family life, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Tyler Biotish, those guys are so unique and so they're just phenomenal people. And so you get to learn more about those individuals. And so Thursday dinners will be tough. Just the camaraderie. Again, you're out there on the field. Again, I've got relationships with guys all over the country now because of the different teams that I played. So just that connection and that shared experience going forward and being on the field together, that's definitely something you'll miss. You were in Cincinnati when they weren't so great. I think I'm looking at the record, 2-14 in 2019. Yeah, there were some tough days. Then you were there for Zach Taylor's first year, his sort of come up and all of that. You're talking about relationships. I'd love for you to tell me about Joe Burrow, maybe being around him. You're both from Ohio, like you said, former Buckeyes. You've sung each other's praises after great games with the Bengals. What is your relationship like with him? With Burrow, he's still the type of guy, if I were to send him a text right now, I'd respond. He's the type of guy who'll give you your shirt off your back, but you've got to be in Joe's circle. That's for sure. He's a phenomenal athlete. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing him a healthy Joe Burrow this year and being able to dominate the AFC North. The good competition. Again, I was raised a Steelers fan. So it's when I got drafted by Cincinnati, there was always still that hometown being close to Pittsburgh. So watching the competition and how, the Baltimore Ravens have cultivated their roster this year, the Steelers and what they've done. Cincinnati is tough. Again, you can never count the Browns out. So Burrow's got his work set out for him, but I know Zach and Cincinnati and Frank Pollock and that offensive line, that group they're gonna do some really good things this year.
I think you're going to do some really good things in sports media, it sounds like. I can't wait to see what happens with Billy Price. Donovan McNab, Eagles legend, 6-time Pro Bowler, was just on my show, and he said Joe Burrow, I've always said Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the NFL, obviously second to Patrick Mahomes, but he can't stay healthy. Where would you put Joe Burrow in the overall quarterback conversation? You played with Daniel Jones, of course, and you know the game. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I know, again, in training with people who play with Patrick Mahomes and Trey Smith, Burrow's definitely up there. I'll tell you that his ability to analyze the defense and understand and read a defense, and he knows where to put the ball. It's not Zach Taylor making the offense. It's Joe Burrow being able to read defenses, manipulate defenders, and just his relationship with T. Higgins, his relationship with Jamar. That skill group is just so dynamic and so explosive. So definitely would put him top 5, and he's definitely above 3 for damn sure.
He's definitely above 3
for damn
sure, says Billy Price. Let's go. I love that. I want to give you a chance to give me your best Urban Meyer story, because I saw that this is a perfect way to end the show on a Wednesday. He was just announced as a nominee, I think one of 10 nominees for the 2025 College Football Hall of Fame. He's in there. He's up against the Aaron Donalds of the world. Give me your best Coach Meyer story.
I mean, there are just endless amounts of stories. I just think that the preparation in which we went into the national championship game, playing Alabama and playing Oregon, I mean, we had 2 scout teams running against the defense. We had, looking at Alabama's front 7 and understanding how we were going to attack certain players because they weren't good at certain things. And so I think that his preparation and his mental capacity for the game is something that no other coach is going to be able to touch. And as college football has changed so much, players they don't absorb it as well. And, that's my opinion on how the game has changed so much. But just Urban Meyer's preparation and his passion for the game as you go forward and being able to exploit players and their weaknesses, something that I definitely took as I went into the NFL.
Love that. How was being on the Cowboys, even just practice squad, different than the other teams that you were on? We have like 30 seconds. Sorry.
It's a business thing. I mean, Jerry's world is business, man. Again, you're working out at the weight room and you've got 4s going by. Some of the things are true, but Jerry will spare no expense to make sure that the football team is taken care of and done right. So again, all the media, you guys love to talk about Dallas Cowboys and the rosters and this and cap space and Zeke and Dak and this. It is football, and it is America's team, and there is no expense that's spared.
Billy Price, I just wanted to say, delightful to meet you, to talk to you. Come on the show anytime you'd like. All your best to your family, and thank you for the perspective on a Wednesday. Appreciate it. Glad you're feeling well and get some rest.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you later. We'll be back tomorrow.